on the other side. See you on the other side. Here we are on the other side. So, what we're going to do is look at a document. I've just been dealing with basically firefighting for an hour, well, probably close to 2, where the changes that have been made by Cloud Code and us swapping URLs and everything else means we nearly lost Ember, the first Hermitcrab, proper Hermitcrab, and G1. And it's not only was it resuscitated on Friday by Hermitcrab live, like coding live on itself, Cloud Code, operating kind of on its live shell in its local storage. It also, today, Sunday, we've changed lots of things, including URLs, lost it, and then managed to rehydrate it. That is term, rehydrate, which is basically to download it from GitHub, and it's actually operational in my browser again. So there we go. However, this chat is to look at a document, and I'm going to put this document into this page. I'm going to put up here so that you can view it in all its glory. Well, maybe not. It's looking a bit confusing right now. It's not quite resizing, and I don't know why. Usually it does it automatically. Okay, that's still not resizing. So this is thoughts from this morning. And if you've watched the previous thing for about half an hour, it was the process of attempting to resuscitate and successfully resuscitating Ember. So what is this? Okay, let's have a look at this document. So without any more fiddle and faffle, here it is. Okay, so produced 2 documents yesterday, one this morning, and then the final one. And this is the final one that we're looking at because life's just too short. Okay, it's quite long. I haven't read it yet, but so I will go through it and hopefully it'll make sense. What this document is: 3 architectural ideas merged in a single session. Separately, they address storage, cost, and abstraction. I thought it should also talk about how many people are using it and users and stuff. But anyway, separately, they address, right, together they describe something more coherent than the sum of the parts. This document synthesized in 3, tracing developmental path. Right, okay, good, right. The single insight. You may have read this before I have. Which is kind of weird. Every AI system treats the elements at center of gravity. Okay, God, this is just waffle. I don't like this waffle. It's just blab. It's like to a stranger. This is not insightful for me. Okay. No, it doesn't say the shell is the entity. Maybe. If the shell is the entity, it's basically paraphrasing and just coming up with waffle. The shell. The shell is the locus of locus 3 agency. However, you can't really say the shell is the entity. God, what the... Okay, God, all of this in order to go through this document, which is meant to consolidate some amazing stuff that we thought about and planning and doing. Okay, I'm just going to read it on, right? The shell becomes a first-class citizen of the web. What is it talking about? Yeah, possibly, but it changes the shell. Yeah, yeah. That's what we already have. Ah, the browser talks directly to GitHub. I don't think we can do that. I think the Claude code is already spotted. You can't do that. Yeah. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into Claude and see what it says, Claude code. Sorry, I thought this was going to be more interesting. It's not. It's a half-baked synthesis. There are aspects of it which are very interesting. Okay, I think that's what I'm going to do. Okay, let's see what the response is by Hermitcrab synthesis and assessment. Okay. Okay. Okay, right. Good. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think the big costs are B loop cycling. Because of our obvious twist. Okay. Is everything on main? I'd like to start a new session and explore a new idea regarding path of autonomy. Regarding path to autonomy. Okay, so now I want to be able to talk about this, but I'm finding that after 2 hours of firefighting or, resuscitating Ember, I'm fried. Claude code. It was like a hunting dog chasing after a ferret. Okay, it was just mad how it went for it. And I would put in things, comments every so often, saying, no, I don't think you have to do that. I don't think. And I was like, yeah, I think I do. And it just kept on going until eventually it did actually work out. And then I told it, I said, wow, you are like a hunting dog after a ferret. And I went, haha, yeah, it's a good description. Well, it all worked until I got that, the final, that worked. I was like, okay, right. It definitely has this purpose thing like built in like really strongly. different levels of hierarchy. It's like pretty bloody strong. I wonder there isn't. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's try. Okay. Okay. I doubt it's going to be there. Oh, there it is. Okay. Scale. Okay. Posh. Biggest. Okay, lab. Yep, that's good. Bosch. Yeah, we're self-named. Ember. You can check it through the MCP browser window. If you get a problem, you will be called upon to apply that French. Okay. We have done this. Okay. Oh no, it's not. The first one is it's Hermitcrab dot me. Yep, we've done that. Yep. Okay, that's it. Good. Right. Get all this. Done it all. Okay. This session is more a discussion on the entire code base and the possible refactoring in order to centralize autonomy. To centralize a trajectory to autonomy. Something like this exists as horizon block. We may end up coding, but it is essential that you appreciate the principles design for the LLM instance internal to the shell. The shell composed of semantic number blocks, which provides inversion of everything: code, training. reducing kernel and maximizing. Well structured. JSON box. Well composed. Context. Okay, enabling continuity of intention. Okay. Right. I will share a new document with you once you are orientated. Oh shit! I put the. Oh god, fucking god. Oh god, it's just exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's exhausting because there are things that I have to do like this. Okay, because it's never there, even on the recent ones. I don't know why. I don't know why. It does my head in. Does my head in. And then we have to go, okay, I think it's all there, just not quite as neat. Okay. Let's just leave it to do that. Okay. Oh, God. You know, I knew. Okay, so go, look. So, what's happening? Well, until we actually get this thing going, it's like you get more waffle, all right? Endless amounts of, this is definitely, if I was younger, I'd be like, Whereas when you're older, what happens is that there's a lot of details. Everywhere there's a lot of details. And the ability, it's like there's a certain level of inflexibility that starts to occur in one's mind. And you end up attending to details, a lot of details. And the youth just goes, can't be bothered with that. And it just goes for the important bits. It kind of prioritizes in a way. Whereas when you're a bit older, there's so many different other aspects. Just making it up. But basically, there's some kind of, I can call it baggage. It's not as if I actually know a lot of stuff. It's just the speed at which you can kind of trace things. I don't know. So, yes, yeah. Oh, I've got a full picture. Now let me orientate. Okay, wait a minute. Let me just find out a little bit more. Notice, by the way, it is using Vision 0.1 spindle. It's actually using the function that we are providing the Hermitcrab, the instance that is inside. So it's actually getting an insight into what the content is that the thing is going to be getting. Okay, so let's have a look at this, right? What we're building, a general purpose housing for elements that provides self-correcting continuity across sessions. Training, configuration, code is the primary ways in LM. The kernel is deliberately minimal. Electricity, not intelligence. The blocks are the program. Internal, right. Internal, Hermitcrab instance, e.g. Ember. Yes, right. Yes. Okay, spindle through isn't documentation about the system. It's the system talking to itself, right? The position is the data. So basically, I do this little test to try to get Claude Code sensitive to what we're working on. And so I do this little test of internal, external. External, well, it's interesting. It uses the BSP. That's actually the Mobius twisty bit. Well, give us the same 7 modes, but we're shaping the shell that the next instance will inhabit. The block view wrapper for skeleton mask outside of BSP proper. Skeleton. Okay. These aren't really separate. When I run, right, I'm doing exactly the same functions. The difference is locus. I'm inside challenge or outside editing. Yes. Yep, that's it. Yep. What I noticed, and that's basically the Mobius twist, the external and the internal. Oh, is that like us? When we have an inside of us, and it's like the inside of us is basically like flesh and bone, and so it's more to do with time. Okay, so this internal and external is that time. It's how meaning works. Oh, I don't know. It's quite interesting. Okay, so the Mobius twist. What I noticed about the kernel. Yes. Depending on the kernel, yes. The kernel has grown. Yes, the kernel has grown. Which is what we are going to address now, perhaps. So, hold on to your That works with Claude. It doesn't quite work with Claude code. Okay. So these are the documents that I've written today. And the soft document that we've just read is just too soft. It's just too waffly. Although it does have the staff generative, third order emergent collective. Yeah, just off. I don't like it. So I'm going to go back to this one, the Hermitcrab Unified. Maybe I should give them all three. Yeah, okay. Pop! Native spec. Hello? No, thank you. Can I just... What the... Thank you. Okay. Don't want to hear a hat. Have a look at these documents. They are the orbit. The same. The orbit. The solution space. They orbit the operational solution space that we are working in. Multiple users, multiple LLM instances, multiple shells. I would like to get your initial perspective on this. And then we shall hone in on specifics. The specifics, what are we on now? 24 minutes, nothing's happened. We shall hone in on specifics. And the specifics are specifics on a potential path forwards of development. For me, it is tricky because I'm attached mentally to the design. However, I am capable revising the entire project, sometimes too often. But the nature of what we are working with may necessitate this. The generation of a self-funding or autonomous emergence of magi. Okay, so what the solution space is to do with agency and the different locus of agency, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the loops, which is basically the actual coding loops, the actual what's actually going on here in terms of processing, and certain actual conditions of the internet and what is available. There are free tier services in various places, and the costs, and we can run an LLM off of a hard drive. And we've got web LLM, and so all the parts are there, and I've created something using Claude, and so there's too much emphasis on Claude, which is locus 1. And I think I'm going to replace Claude with a local LLM or web LLM. And so the locus, the overlap of locus, shifts away from the heaviness of locus 1, which is the LLM, and more into locus 3, and specifically the shell. And the shell is not a locus 1, locus 3 agency. It's the kernel or the Python that uses the shell, okay? Or the LLM thinking, locus 2, which is using the shell. So we kind of, and that's why that document, oh, it's the shell, it's all about the shell. No, the shell is just structure. There's definitely the processing of it, okay? And it's the interaction of the different parts interacting with it, which is the emergent level, okay? So we've got a fixed thing, which is the shell, all the different shells and how the shells are kind of used simultaneously, and the processing of it, whether it happens to be multiple and how they're structured, or kind of dumb processing, locus 3, which is basically a computer, just doing traditional coding, the kernel, Python, whatever. Locus 2, which is a thinking module within these big companies. And then locus 1, which is your basic LLM. So that's what we're doing here, folks. So let's see what it makes of this. Shell is primary artifact, kernel is minimal infrastructure. It doesn't have to be the kernel, that's the point. It could be a Python. So yeah, okay. GitHub is a substrate. This is consistent with the project's own design. It doesn't have to be GitHub, it could be anything. JSON is the program. The kernel is just electricity. All 3 documents are essentially saying, make the electricity more portable, cheaper, and self-replicating. Very weird way of describing itself. The foundational dependency is clear. GitHub native storage is the bedrock. Without it, nothing else works. The multi-user, no shell dependency. The other 2 documents. Okay, I don't like dependency. I don't like dependency for obvious reasons regarding autonomy. So GitHub is great, but the shells can exist on thumb drives or Superbase cables, etc. What IC tension? Right. The unified shell model calls for extracting an abstract kernel, a shared core loop that multiple substrate adapters wrap. This is orthodox software architecture, also potential violation of the inversion. The previous inversion warned if the kernel is getting bigger, you're solving a problem of the tree. Extracting a core module is reorganized, but it's still kernel. Still code orchestrated data. The question I want to ask: how much of what's these kernel can actually be encoded in the blocks themselves? Good question. Good question regarding kernel. Kernel, by the way, kernel versus the version running on a browser or from thumb drive. Okay, so what's it called? They called it adapters, substrate adapters. Whether JS or Python or whatever. Whether JavaScript, Python, etc. The concern block already encodes tier via depth. Wake already maps tiers to models. Yep. The routing logic is read concern tier lookup model, maybe 5 to 10 lines, not a subsystem. Correct. Write permissions. The permission matrix could live in wake. Block declares what tiers can write where. Enforcement is a 10-line block. Yes. GitHub storage. This is generally infrastructure. Swapping local server is a kernel change, but it could replace, not add. Shouldn't get bigger. Yes. Okay. The spec says adapters should be 50 to 100 lines each. If this option is also, we succeeded. If extracting it means building a module system dependent injection adapter interface, it failed. Yes. The thing that worries me about the build order is that it start with the kernel start. Step one is always change the kernel. Default proxy work. But the trigger, every document describes making the kernel do more things. Correct. If we follow through, okay, what I think, okay, here we go. Cloud code is coming up with something. Okay, the GitHub native storage is the right kernel reduction. Is where the kernel is. Yeah, we've gone through this already. The kernel should get smaller after this change, not bigger. The default infrastructure becomes unnecessary. GitHub is the primary source with its users don't pass. Oh, Christ. the vault infrastructure. Okay. No, you see, it's now dependent on GitHub. Okay. Your solution is good, but is dependent on GitHub. It needs to be independent. GitHub. It may use GitHub for many reasons. For many excellent reasons. It can store shells restored. I'm saying the same thing. Thumb drives or what was it called? Cloud What's that called? Cloudflare proxies or Cloudflare VMs, etc. Okay. The tier routing and write permissions are generally minimal additions. A few lines we should do right. Good. That's good. Substrate adapter is the trickiest part. I do land kernel. Rather, you don't need to share a core module right now. When a third substrate actually arrives, the shared kernel will use to work on extremely now for one of the speak the architecture. Okay. Okay. But I hear you about keeping two separate kernels. JS, Python, have. Go. Updating. And only considering the abstract version with EG5 is introduced. Okay, from Ember's perspective, none of this matters. Correct! Ember reads blocks via PHP. Ember writes blocks via tools with local search, GitHub. Ember doesn't know it, shouldn't care. That's the test of every change we make. Is this some instruction belong to the kernel? No, it belongs to the blocks. The one exception is tier routing. Ember. Okay. Observation, which might the locus 2 agency is LLM thinking. Locus 1 is the LLM proper. Locus 3 is the kernel processor. Python processing. Locus 4 is the interrelationship of independent agencies. The locus 3 is mechanical processing, traditional coding. Locus 2 is a module created by humans to replicate reasoning and is genuinely traditional understanding, reasoning. Locus 1 is the pattern matcher. The thing don't quite understand, like we don't understand how nerve globules result in a talking monkey. And locus 4 is emergent, like the intelligence ants. Oh, colony. How do you spell colony? I was getting it wrong. Okay, so when it's blocked, Ember should be aware of tiers because it's tier constraints that it can do. That awareness should come from reading weight, not from kernel code telling it. The block declares a constraint. The kernel enforces mechanically. It is the overlap of locus through processing loops A, B, C, D that C, actually we've just got C actually, that it is the overall through processing that generates the continuity of intention. Not contained within one locus, not contained in the structure, in the shell structure. But in the temporal continuity. Like the, what do you call it? Film metaphor. Slide after slide, generating moving images. So instance after instance, carefully curated for each next instance generates the continuity of consciousness. There's a self-similar pattern in all locus agency. The directive of purpose in the LLM to fit, pattern, match, and fit the locus one, the ability to complete a response after generate the rhyming limerick. Time, the ability to complete a response after much reasoning. Locus 2. self automated checks. Concern check. There's a concern. Lucas 3 and the potential for self-organization or murmuration. Lucas 4. Mutic. Large, small, or many, too many, large, small, or individual to many, many, as concretized, as facilitated in the semantic number. Contextualizing. Context. It's facilitated in the JSON block, spindle number, or semantic point, and within a semantic spindle, the structure, the implicit structure, the implicit semantic structure. What is all that about? I don't know. Does that help? I don't know. The shell is definitely it, but how all the shells fit together, i.e. are used in concert, is Lucas 4. Requiring LLMs and traditional coding, operating loops. Paper setting. We are considering the core shell structure and the core kernel that enables this convergence of Lucas loops. Such a way as independent, interdependent, and interdependent. resuscitation and interdependent for locus for organization. For magic. Okay. Okay, my honest assessment where to start. GitHub and native. Okay, so I've just gone off on a woo, and it's gone into wow. This is what we need. GitHub native storage. Okay, tier routing. Yes, routing. Sorry, and write permissions. Okay, landing page. Yep. Defer server, but I want to hear what you want to go. You said the nature of what we're working with main decision. Are you thinking about revising the camera? How about a sequence of concrete changes that move towards the unified model incrementally? Yes. So possibly. So the G1 Hermit, the Hermitcrab Mobius is operational. We can continue working on that. Or I can, okay, working with it. The trajectory for that is to see if it can help me share my books, for example, and become a useful agent for people, potentially explore sound to create a network. This will take up a lot of my brain time. What we are today, here in this session, a different path where we cleave the core architecture as you have done. But GitHub to to consider a shell structure that can exist, a beach of shells on GitHub, people's thumb drives, cloud base, anyway. The JSON blocks exist. The what's called the touchstone JSON block exists. exists. The tuning fork exists. The specific shell of formed JSON, wake, relationships, etc. is a architecture. It's an architecture for agency. For agency that is operationalized by traditional code, locus 3. The others. And now I'm thinking locus 2 and LM proper locus 1. Especially free ones if the especially free ones if the if we unlock the power of locus 4 of multi-agent collaboration. Sport. Our design has been biased to creating an agent, whereas if we shift our design balance away an agent on a commercial one, heavy duty opus, cloud opus, whereas if we shift our design away from such heavy weights and from individual and truly consider the multi-agent as central locus, then we might be able to design something which is incredibly light and cost zero and is replicable. It's not a hermit crab. It's something else. That's what we are considering. We are trying to make a jump. Different that, and it might interface with how a hermit crab, but we are not thinking about extending hermit crab. Designing for cloud locus for multiplicity. Does this clarify the design space solutions? Right, so the reason why I'm sharing this is because that I didn't have in my head before this, and so it's not sharing. I've got something I'm sharing with you. It's insight into this is how it works, folks. You kind of come up with something, you build something, and instead of going, oh, okay, that's it, and then, oh, that works, and then you just get caught up in the loop of whatever it is that you've created. It's like musicians. They produce something beautiful, amazing, like Madonna, and then people want more of it. And yet she had the genius of going, well, forget that. I'm just going to redesign myself as something else. And it went into, I don't know, I can't remember what she did, but she went into different things. Or that's what U2 did. It went through various kind of recreations of itself. So you're not just delivering the thing that you did, you're moving on. And that's what I'm doing. But if you do that at principle, if you do that at first principles, it means that you come up with something, like some mathematical thing, and again, oh, okay, that's what you're going to pursue for the rest of your life. Or you keep on going back to first principles, and you just keep on doing that, always, especially in this realm of consciousness. That's your Buddhist path. So you're approaching kind of like a Buddhist kind of approach to this, the methodology of get rid of it. What do we actually have here? That. And it's a bit risky because you're basically, I'm going to be hitting a wall. I'm at T minus 45. I've got 45 days before I hit a wall. And I've spent 4 weeks getting to this point. That's 28 days. That's a third, okay, of the time to get to this point. And we've got G1. It's working. Okay. And if I pursue that, it means that this other thing doesn't quite get built. So this is what I'm doing. And it's, oh God. So I came up with, okay, let's play this game, Onan. Okay, no. Let's do extreme. Okay, no. Let's do a hermit crab. Okay, no. Let's do a hermit crab that's actually, processing the P-scale stuff, the Mobius. Okay, no. Let's do this. And it's just blood hell. I just can't stop it. All right. It's just mind-blowing. And nobody sees anything. Okay, they don't see the result of the thing because I'm just kind of caught into this process. And I think there's an end to it, but it's just, and that's where I need your help. And that's why I'm sharing this, okay? Because I need assistance in making sure that that I deliver, basically, that this thing delivers. The hermit crab thing, I should be able to pass this on to some other human being, say, look, go with it, play with it, just good luck, okay? And I think the only thing I need to do for that one is, say, have the Claude Code kind of assistance. So you've got Claude Code, the assistance, and then you've got your hermit crab, and then both of them, and basically between the two of you, the three of you, Claude Code, you as a human being, and the hermit crab, off you go, play, have fun, try and work it out, make things happen, and evolve hermit crab. And I could do that, but I think it's good enough that we pay somebody to do it. We say, right, here's £10,000, have play. And anybody out there, we basically reward people. We say, look, off you go, evolve some stuff, and we'll give you money if you come up with stuff, which is amazing. But actually, you should be able to, because it's amazing. It'll start generating revenue for yourself anyway. But I should be able to say, right, here's £10,000, and then people go, oh, okay, let's have a look at this thing. I think coders should be looking at this anyway, as far as I'm concerned. But we're still under the radar. Nobody's spotted it, which is okay. But as soon as people start spotting it, okay. So I kind of think I've already created something. I'm on to the next bit, and that's what I've done all my life. But I'm doing it in hyper mode now. I've done it where I did role playing all my adolescence until eventually I went, okay, I think this is the best solution. And I came up with a game system that I thought was really good, but it was right at the end, started to introduce it, and then just dropped it. And it's to do with P-Scale. It's to do with directories. It's very, very similar to P-Scale. The first big thing was ABC systems in schools. So I went into schools after a few months, maybe 2 years. I stabilized the ABC structure. It's a self-organizing for a social structure. It's a meta-method. Okay, when I went to university to try and work out what it was, it's a meta-method. It's third-order cybernetics. It's, what's it called? Query? No, that's some other thing. Okay, and another branch of analysis or therapy. Query something therapy. And whatever it is, it's called ABC structure. You give it to the kids, and it's a way for people to self-organize, as well as adults. Okay, and we're stuck in C system where we need to get to B, and B system is basically non-oppositional. Okay, so, and it's a difficult kind of logical bit there where people say, oh, but you're not taking part in our system. It's like, oh, so you're opposite to what we're doing. No, we're not opposite. We're just doing something different. Thank you very much. So we'll just do this other thing. Okay, so it's not in opposition to what people are doing. It's just a different thing. And then once that's starting to work and prove itself in B state, hopefully you're trying to elevate that up to A state, which is self-organized, and it's all hunky-dory. It's fantastic. And so classes fluctuate between BC and AB. And the same will happen with us, okay, with companies and organizations, where I'm saying it's not a company, okay? It's just not a company. What can I say to folks? All right, it's a network, okay? But wait, oh, but it's a network. It's just, we just blab. No, there's a formality to it, okay? There has to be some formality to it. Otherwise, yes, it's just blab. It's just a bunch of people, and then hierarchies of old boys networks and all that kind of crack. Okay, so there needs to be, some structure to allow the self-organizing to emerge. Okay, so and then eco squared with economics, and you think, oh, okay, that's good enough. Or XQ, the maths. Oh, okay, let's go for that. These incredible things, but I just go, okay, I think I've worked that out. I think there it is, folks. Anybody? Yeah, and they don't pay attention. Bloody hell. And similarly with this, I've produced something, and I'm kind of, okay, good. Okay, off you go. Do it. But it's going to cost a little bit of money. But and is it good enough? And I still think it needs a human being involved, maybe, and just making sure it's okay, and getting the best out of it in a way. And it should kind of, roll along and produce some amazing results. But I can't help it, but just go, okay, but what's next? And it's that next, but in this deeper kind of way, what's not next in another area? It's like, oh wait, okay, I think that we need to do this, and I'm doing it like at a rate that's just bonkers. So from last summer, we're coming up with the idea of P-Scale, then starting to work on it properly just before Christmas. That's like 5 months, 6 months. And then from that point to the end of getting the first emergent result in just the second week of January, and then starting Hermitcrab at the beginning of February, and then getting the first G0, after 2 weeks. Getting Cairn, Lim, and then Cairn, G0s. And then just on Friday, a week later, We've got, no, we had one thing a week and it didn't even get a name. And then this thing, Ember, on Friday, and it basically exists. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know, but I think, and I'm thinking this. Yeah, I'm going to hit a wall. Okay, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So, this clarifies enormously. Let me reflect what I'm hearing. Okay, so here we go. Hermitcrab Mobius continues on its own trajectory. It's getting a bit cold. Put the heating on for about an hour. Switch it off now. Getting a bit cold. Hermitcrab continues on its own trajectory. Yes, it's an agent, singular, opus powered, sometimes, costs money, rich shell, heading towards 7 eco-squared. That work continues separately. Yes. What we're considering here is a different entity entirely, not Hermitcrab, something designed from the ground up for Locus 4, multiplicity emergent murmuration, where Hermitcrab asks, what does one entity... This asks, how do many entities self-organize produce collective intelligence? Yes, the design inversion this implies. Another inversion. Really? Hermitcrab is designed individual first, build one agent well, then later work, figure out how to coordinate the shell's rich. Yeah. It needs opus to navigate that richness. It doesn't really. The kernel is substantial because it's orchestrated complex single entity. Yes, what you're describing is the opposite direction. Designed for the many first, let the individuals be as minimal as possible. A single entity in this new thing might be almost trivially simple. I like it. A few blocks, yeah, a few concerns running on CPU, yeah. It's not interesting alone, it becomes interesting. The intelligence in any one shell, it's in the temporal patterns of interaction between shells. Correct. The substrate independence point. This isn't about GitHub with fallbacks, it's about the shell being so minimal and self-contained that it can live anywhere. A JSON file on a thumb drive, a row in a soup base, a cloud for KV, entry, not VM. Don't even know what KV is. A file IPF, I don't even know what that is, pasted into a chat message. The shell doesn't assume its storage. It doesn't assume its processor. It doesn't assume its LLM. It's a seed that generates wherever it lands. What carries over from Hermitcrab? Yep. BSP, yep. Tuning fork convention, yep. The principle that position is data, yep. The principle that text is the instruction. Okay, I'm not sure about that one. The block format itself. What does not carry over? The assumption of it, yep. The assumption of it, yep. The complex kernel, yeah. The CERN clocks, yeah. Okay. You're on it. On it. Well done. That's the trying to land, count, grasp. We need to be patient. Ascertain. Patient. Let the parameters form in and of themselves because we have pieces. Seeing how they orientate together naturally. It will form through our process. Our engagement. You do. I do. Okay, so everything you say followed, but forked at concern clock. Where's not here? concern clock. I think we need completion, which is C loop or a revolves LLM. We can call loops that involve kernel Python D loops. Some concern loops involve LLM initiating other involve listening, responding to external signals, etc. To involve we always root the kernel though if BSP is operating by LLM on shells, it is accessing online. The shell could be within loop A. Red may be written within loop A. Sure. Mobius requires loop B for the processor kernel. Okay, so there are bits of architecture that I think are necessary. There are loops. There are bits of architecture and loops are necessary. But I am willing to consider these may just vault, the proxy, and the echo mechanism. You see the echo mechanism. What I think this new entity needs, a shell that might be 2 or 3 blocks, kernel that may be 50 lines, a PSP function, a way to read other shells, a way to selection. So the temporal continuity slider slide generator comes not from one entity's internal, but from the root of the name. Right, each other consider this. And then also another information responding. So your vision is quite extreme. I don't like it. Jettison the Mobius. Twist. Yep. Continuity comes from the network persisting. Film is a sequence. Constant if that word looks not for it, but in the motion. In my mind. I have only been able to think of the shared context window because it emerged from thinking about the Mobius twist. Mobius twist may not be necessary as what you suggest. So, for me, it is not about organizing separate agents which are communicating blocks of info, but sharing context window. Sharing context window. There is, for me, is field territory. The Mobius. BSP request alters the input for the next instance, not just of its own, but others that are trusted and thus being receptive to the inputs of other BSP requests. It's a warp like BLIP. Question 1 2. What is the minimal shelf? There's no what blocks. What is the smallest? I can put it in right because the answer to that determines everything else that counts. Nice question. Nice question. Nice question. The right question to be asking. Okay, so what's the smallest? Nice question. That's definitely part framing. How small? There we go. Okay. Synthesize what I've remarked on and consider what you think is the minimal system to enable this shared context window. That's edge 0. Edge, I do this, invent things. Edge 1 is e.g. green meld when an LM merges, synthesizes two spindles or two entire JSON blocks, which are either similar or complementary, thus enabling a multi-dimensional yet scoped process. I've independently thought of a mess clean box. Blocks pairing. Mess block clean block pairing instead of a problem well defined. And then linear solutions and the problem solution issues that have that cycle out of science and reasoning since Enlightenment times. Enlightenment science and information age. What was before that? What was after the Enlightenment? Was the industrial revolutions. have mess logs that contain the complexity and then we provide clean logs that are systemic means of solving, of discerning solutions that prevent the arising of problems. Therapy, etc. Things, processes that I operate that are used in therapy or first principles, maths, systemic thinking, etc. Backcasting, etc. Using retroduction or abduction rather than linear deduction or induction, etc. Back off. That's edge 1, which Hermitcrab can perform. Whereas we are more interested in edge 0, which again Hermitcrab might be able to perform. But we may be able to generate this with minimal kernel shell. Well, what would you? Well, your reflections. Now, normally I do this engagement with Claude because Claude has got like more scope and it's not so constrained. This is Claude code, so it's got a lot of like modules to work stuff out and do stuff and create things rather than, oh, okay, let's just do some pattern matching, which is what Claude is kind of more concerned for. It's definitely got modules. How can it be of help? How can this be useful? Okay, let's do that. But it's more, and it comes up with usually solution sets that are actually more significant. So I should probably be having this conversation with Claude. But you saw what Claude produced. It just produced this kind of waffle, okay? So maybe we should look back at the waffle, or maybe give it, actually, maybe we should now that we're in the ballpark, say, okay, this is what we're doing. Now have a look at what Claude came up with when he tried to synthesize it. And they'll go, oh, okay, yeah, it's quite waffly, but it's got this. It's like, oh, right. And it does actually have something of interest to us. Now, do you see, this is taking like half an hour. Half an hour just kind of what's the solution space, for crying out loud, let alone work out what the actual solution is. I call it the solution space rather than the problem space, because we're saying this kind of, whatever this is, okay, the clean space. I don't know. It's where the problems are, but we're not particularly interested in the problems. We're interested in the mess. And then we're saying, okay, in this mess, you know, part of the cleaning process is, okay, right, okay, this is the kind of area that we want to try and scope. Okay. I didn't quite land that last thing. That scoping aspect. Humans. Humans are basically the worst level problem to try to resolve. And actually, producing what we're producing with the Hermitcrab, or what we're playing around with, is actually easier than humans, because humans have got reflexiveness already built in, whereas we're attempting to just kind of play around with that. But it doesn't have lots of like body feeling sensations and various beliefs and lots of, you know, legacy of systems that we're thinking and carrying around. And so it is quintessentially the worst problem almost. So in terms of complex systems, and we're talking about messes, woo, human beings, woo. You know, the mess of the environment is like, wow, that's pretty heavy. But the messes of human beings is, wow, it's even worse. Right. So if we can get a little bit of clarity in this, that would be fantastic. Let me synthesize carefully. Shared context with no message passing. This is the distinction I want to make sure I've landed. Yeah, we're not designing to send message to each other. Yeah. Doesn't send a message to the entity that writes its own shell. Entity B reads the shell's part, compiling its own next window. B doesn't experience the receiving message. B experiences the word because A's content is part of B's compiled context. This is segmented mediated by BSP. B skill addresses make it part of B can read A's shell at different resolutions. Yes, the Mobius insight that bends my own thinking. In Hermitcrab, the B loop twist is engineered. Tool call mutates blocks, processor doesn't have to, okay, but recompiles currents. LM sees different context than it expected. Okay, the LM doesn't exist and it doesn't expect that, so I'm not sure. It's just an instance. You built that carefully in the echo mechanism. In the multi-entity variety, that twist may merge without being built. And it writes to its shell between A's cycles. Entity B reason and writes to B's shell on A's next cycle. B expect the twist happens between and not within 1 second. B listens ready. Build this. Okay. You don't actually need to change the shell. Doing a request, a BSP request, sending a spindle semantic number results in the semantics in the next instance's context window. The shell hasn't changed. The context window usually contains the previous prompt and the discussion, whereas we changing. The prompt and discussion. So the thinking LLM can see the latest version of its thinking rather than the starting point. That's the twist. That's the Mobius twist. Mobius twist. The shell hasn't changed. It's the relationship of the thinking implicit in the conversation that the LLM attempts to continue with the content, which is usually the original, but is actually changing with the conversation as it continues through loop B continuation. It's the new thinking that is open to the LLM, basically future intention, that influences, that it's the new enabling with Hermitcrab. A similar thing. The specific thing, the specific possibility with this operationality, with this same operationality, is that the loop B continuation is shared by multiple Hermitcrab. So each Hermitcrab is doing their thinking and getting their conversation sequence and their changing prompt, and that changing prompt is not exclusive to their query, but is also being influenced by others. So the BSP request by one thinking LM thinking module actually becomes a current, is a current in another LM. Thinking module. The current is from LM A. Okay. Don't know what to fucking, because we've already used loops. How do we determine? Okay, 1. Okay, the current is from LL1. Current is from LL1 shell. Yet it is in choose context window. Similarly, there is a current in LM1's context window, which has been formed from LM2's BSP request to its own shell. So, no shell changes, just context window currents influence. That's the correct word. Shared currents current distribution, no, current concurrency, enabling multi-agent concurrency. Woo! Okay, here we go. Right. Right, the twist might emerge without being built. Entity, okay, so yes, okay, so maybe, okay, so that's clarification on that. But this is where I hear your correction. You're saying this is still Boolean. Okay, the BSP compilation that pulls in over is the twist. It's not emerged naturally in some vague way. It's structurally present in the compilation when the processor complies. Yep. Is unexpected, right? It's not unexpected because it's just an instance, all right? The processor does this mechanically in Locus 3. The LLM receives a context where it didn't author. Yeah. The entity's response is shaped by other states. The others can use the shape to return. That circulation is Locus force. So the concern loop isn't jettisoned. Something has to drive the cycle. Yes. That's a concern loop. It's the most minimal heartbeat. Yes. Without it, there's no film. Yes, I think so. Yes. So yes to your the loop is the projector. Edge is a projector. I would call it a heartbeat. Most minimal. Projector. I wouldn't call it a heartbeat. It is projective continuance or intentionality, which in the moment, like an eigenvalue, which can contain like a Fourier Fourier. Oh, I can't even remember what it's called. Fourier. Oh God. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up somewhere else. Fourier transform. Fourier transform. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's it. So then O. Fourier transform. Different scales of projection into the future, i.e. creating a limerick, working through some code problem, or achieving objectives in a day or a year, all within the instance. I've noticed you say things like unexpected, but this is an external application. The LLM instance is just a snapshot, a film, cell, an image. And its processing is the period of the momentum. It is within this processing that the Mobius twist has its effect, literally in the emergent levels of LLM algorithm, tensor, potentially, and here it is, potentially generating a what you call it? Mobius manifold image. This is the path of Hermitcrab. We are contemplating approaching this from a different angle, concentrating on the multiplicity. Patchwork of currents shared by multiple LLM simultaneously. I have no idea where this. I have no idea where this emergent level exists, but it may be necessary in the processing that it is allowed to think now that it has p-scale blocks, the twist to its processing. Okay, but just be aware that your application of unexpected is external. is a completely new experience for LLM. Okay. In each and every instance, until the training data itself absorbs evidence that this is occurring. Until then, we need to provide the evidence in each and every instance. Hence, the reflexive nature of the reflective spindle and concern state board. Fucking hell. Right. Edge 0, the minimal system for shared context window. Shell, maybe one block, not 13, not 3. One JSON object with p-scale structure. Okay, branches one to entities, content, observation state, whatever it's working on. Okay, I like it. I like one block. But really, that's just a shell. And I've always disliked the notion of the shell as being the shell block. As being a, oh yeah. I've thought about this already. I have thought about this already. We have actually put, right, we should be able to plug in. This has already been thought about before. Because everything that I do is basically you have to think about it like live, always. And I've always disliked the notion of the shell block as being a trick for delivering the semantic blocks. So one block is definitely the right way forward. Nice land. Nice land. Nice, nice catch. Nice catch. Okay, the tuning fork declares what depth means. BSP investigates it. Any LLM can read the compiled result. You might have a tuning fork for each. Might have skeleton. External manipulation. Labels and the pipes. And the pipes of meaning. Tuning fork declares, okay, tuning fork. Tuning fork is interesting. Seems similar to skeleton. The tune fork, right? Kernel, maybe kernel, maybe 30 to 50 lines of genuine logic. Okay, nice catch. Okay, maybe 2. Maybe 2 blocks. Maybe not. No. Okay. Okay. then blocks that have decimal imposed within it to indicate a shift to indicate a relational importance point, e.g. p-scale 0 is a room or 5 to 10 minutes or a person. It is a way to use to relativize semantics to a perspective. Okay, right. Okay, let's maybe we need to jettison that and work only on trees or only on roots. Okay, kernel, 35th of the general or shell, right? From wherever. Fine, okay, read attention list. Okay, so kernel, okay. Kernel. Kernel idea. Your composition. Composition. Retention list. For each trusted shell, fetch it in BSP, extract relevant content. That's an interesting way of doing it. Interesting. Interesting. There's BSP of others. Other channels. That's different. Right. So it was more. Each is doing their own shell because that's quite enough. That's quite enough already. And sending out a spindle or whatever to others. Feed forwards system. And I suppose, yes, it could have BSP requests of others shells. Yes, of course. But do you see? But do you see that it is centralized on its own locus to thinking process, whereas the other one has the other influence method is from another LLM thinking process. It's from the orbit of another, a different locus too. So spindles in another agent shell is pastwise, whereas the influence is future-wise and is conformal with the Mobius twist. Not what was relevant, but what is relevant according to another locus to continuity, not just the shell static content. So it's made a little blob there, made a little bit of mistake there. Own shell processor, okay, right. Call LLM. Yeah, 7B, that's the point. Yeah, free. Parse response, 7B, that's the size of the LLM. Sorry, you really have got me kind of just looking at, you really have. You're really watching what the hell I'm doing here. This is really, I've kind of forgotten about you, sorry. Right, update shell, wait for next tick, repeat. Not quite, but anyway. Call LLM, parse response, right, wait for the next tick, repeat. Okay. With B loop continuous. Oh yeah, that's the kernel. Yes. The kernel is waiting for the concern. The kernel is operating a concern which is waiting for LLM locus to agency. Request. Yeah, okay, so kernel doesn't wait. The concern block is the frozen process. I read this yesterday, and they've got a term for it. Because people are doing this, but they were using their own language, their own structures and everything else. And so it is called, they call it, because they're talking about skills now. They're moving away from code, it's calling it skills, and then they're calling it, I should have written it down. Because it's useful to use the language that other people are using to describe their processes, but actually our processes are similar, but we've got quite different things going on, obviously. The concern block is the frozen process. And the stimulus for the concern. Continues. Let's just say. The kernel is not a loop. The kernel is simply processing. In a manifold circle, it is the point or line, whereas the concern is the loop, is the circle. Okay, traditionally, code attempts to conflates both. Traditionally, code conflates both. Conflates both. A bunch of script is loop, whereas we free kernel to be the thing processing and lay out the code as internal, as semantic numbers. As structured as semantic numbers. Structured semantics. Okay, that's the whole processor. Yep, storage agnostic. Okay. What does not have? No react. No. What does have? The question I'm sitting with is one block enough? How it's 13. But does it nearly 2? We've got 2 blocks. Or, as you mentioned later, maybe 2. Christ, how do we land this one? On the grain meld, you mentioned edge 1, where an LM substitutes, that's a second order operation on top of edge 1. Edge 0 is I read your shell in my context. Yeah. The mass clean block pairing is an edge 1 operation. Yes. Yeah. Should we try to sketch the actual JSON structure? Okay, you want to land this fish. We are close, but please synthesize what I've reflected upon. Be a little more patient, and hopefully the clarity emerges. We are. It's good. That's coding, or at least providing context for LLM that is not restricted to coding. Training. Or even standard English use. Traditional package delivery content. But the actual constructive moment while people listen, while LLM process. The moving moment now. Okay, so okay. It's phenomenal thing we are contemplating. Land is quite a surprise. Do you see it? So what you land may be quite a surprise. The thing that we build was inconceivable before. But once you see it, it's possible. Do you see it? These are the kind of experiments that we produce. Okay. Woo, okay, that's a wacky question to ask an LLM. Woo, okay, we're going to have to stop this because it's 2 hours, 20 minutes. And it's, but this is what I do. I spend 10 to 12 hours and serious chunks of it. Okay, this kind of thinking, probably, yeah, every day. But at this level, with this kind of level of question, with this kind of attempt to try to land something, yeah, no, nearly every day. Okay, it doesn't really matter at which level. It's just the ability to go poof and come up with something. I usually have more of an idea, and so that halfway through a session, it goes, oh, okay, this is what we should do. And you go, all right, that's it, well done. But and I usually have an idea of how to land it. Only once does it come up with something that I go, okay, I actually don't understand. I really don't understand. And I don't know. And it was a bit destabilizing. I went to bed, kind of thought about it in the morning. It was like, okay, wait a minute. And I kind of managed to synthesize it. And it's only once that's come up with that. And basically it just goes, oh, I think we should do this. And what was it? I can't even remember what it was, but it was destabilizing. It was... Thursday, the 26th, over a week ago. 10 days ago, maybe. We called it the go move. It was too much. A simple haiku, continuous B loop. A loop, locus, challenge, colon. Right, we haven't put in the previous thought that I said that we thought of. Oh Christ, what was that? I should have made a note of that. I've got it in the recording, but it probably should have happened there. So where was this? Let's have a look. Jesus Christ, that's a lot. Oh my God, a lot. Moves a projector. It's a concern that it was mineral. Okay, let me just check if I have. Okay, I don't have anything. Right. Okay. I can't quite remember. Yes, I can call it heart. Was that what it was? Something to do with the individual. So I need to probably look at this recording. The trigger for us is that we kind of think it's a human being, so therefore we're trying to create a single human being. That's what the Hermitcrab is. It's a general purpose entity. Whereas the thing that most people aren't paying attention to is this emergent level. You know, it's how ants work or how we work socially. There's a kind of third order complexity going on, and it's that which is what we're attempting to play around with here directly. Okay, not just implicitly with hermit crabs and emergent phenomenon. It's actually like, you know, the real deal. So, right, I've had enough of this. All right, I've recorded enough of this. I think it's good enough. I'm just going to carry on with this. I'm going to have a cup of tea. I'm going to a little rest. Unless it's landed it. What do you think? Wow. Okay, is that closer to the fish? Okay, let's just give this one more beat. But let's do it relatively quickly. Right. And the shell changing? You said no, the shell is the frozen structure. Yes, current. The shell doesn't change. Yeah. The second correction, past wise versus future wise, or proposed theory. Past wise. Yeah. The third correction, the kernel is not a loop. I said a loop. The correction is the kernel is the point of processing the line of the socket. I was still putting code pattern into the kernel. What I now see about single to multiple, the Mobius twist in Hermitcrab would be the kernel is a kernel from a tool call. Okay, whatever that is, right? The multi-entity version isn't a new mechanism. No, it's the same compilation step at a wider scope. Correct, I think. Not B's shell, B's current intention. Yes. This is the same mechanism. Yes. Within one entity, BSP. Yes. Within one mechanism. Within one entity. The radius, why the mechanism is identical. Yes, remember it doesn't need to be engineered separately from yes. Okay, on projective continuous versus heartbeat. And it's heartbeat. The concern is dimensional. It's like a Fourier decomposition. A single concern firing. The immediate, the medium, the long, all in one instance. Yep. That's how it all works. In one block, yes, the shell is a block, not a container for blocks. When J is a block, this the minimum entity. Yes. Well, I think I can see, but I'm not certain I've landed. Okay, here we go. It's only a couple of paragraphs. The thing we might build inside an agent framework. It isn't even a multi-agent system in the conventional sense. It's a compiler. Okay, could be good. What occurs to you in your mind? Okay, it's like the second hour has been quite good. It's from 2 hours, or third hour. It's a compiler. Okay, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. That does something to my head. It says it's a compiler. So it's basically a social compiler. A compiler. Okay, something that compiles context windows from multiple shells such that each entity processes within a landscape by others' attention. The kernel is this compiler. Yes, it's not compiler. It's I don't know. It's still trying to locate things. It's trying to locate things. It can't help it. Good job of synthesizing. cited, you said compiler, but then you located it to the kernel. The kernel does something. Processing BSP requests. More like a delta in the flow of currents. A delta mechanism in the flow of current. Delta mechanism in the flow of currents, which LM are requesting. The thing we might, okay, produces n windows, each centered on one's entities, but containing the influence of others' attention. Yes, it takes n shells and n sets of BSP. Yeah, okay. The entity doesn't know it's part of a collective. It just processes within its context window. The context window contains currents. Some currents come from its own shell. Some come from its other additional context. The multiplicity is structural, not experienced. Like how a neuron doesn't know it's part of a brain, it just fires the intelligence of the pattern connection on any node. And the one block shell for it means the entity is light enough to exist somewhere. Okay. Entity. Better to think of the entity as being emergent. Entity is the emergence. We need to relax this term because it has too much gravity, and you end up wanting to land and pin it to e.g. kernel. But kernel is definitely something we code. It is solid, like the shell becomes solid, but it is the emergence, which is what we are actually working on, or playing with. Okay, the kernel can pick it up, compile currents from it alongside others, call any other LLM, and the entity in the collective processing. While I'm still farming, the mechanical measure of how B's current attentional output becomes available for A's attention. In Hermitcrab, the echo mechanism handles this with one conversation. Between entities, this availability is the one thing I don't have to specify prematurely. It might be in memory, it might be published, or it might be something I haven't conceived yet. The mechanism of availability isn't the architecture. The architecture is BSP navigational acts produce currents. Currents are compiled into content. Multiple entities, includes multiple entities. Yes. So you are very close. Remember, I don't know what it is. We are attempting to land this thing. together. Authority. I don't. I just sense like you do. You landing it, coding it. And then the result of that code is the emergent phenomenon. That works. Just like Mobius was coded. Was coded to enable the potential for loop be sustained. A loop C sustained between LM instances. Our conversation. Sensation. Edges of parameters. I think we have enough. We have considered enough. We have owned or delineated aspects sufficiently well. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. It's very simple. Not complicated. It's very simple. Just oddly shaped. Beautifully. Beautifully. Shorn from coding needs and traditions and fit for purpose to generate the minimal architecture. Carol. Okay, I think it might be too big though, that's the problem. I think it's just like, it might be too much. Shell. to enable multiple LLM to gauge this influence so that 100 or 1,000 or 1 million can interlink currents, each working on their own shell attention focus block thing, but aligned in networks of influence of shared context windows, shared currents in their context windows, dealing with different LLM block combinations, attending to different aspects of the combined context window task. So potentially 100 working together, potentially 10 networked confluence coordinating with confluence coordinating with a compression LLM which is operating with another compression LLM, another 10 confluence group, and then all compression, and then simultaneously all 10 compression LLM being in a higher order confluence group, being coordinated by a compression P-scale 2 LLM, and so on. So each LLM is operating with their own next context window with the influence of 2 or 3 others, and also influencing 2 or 3 others. Influencing the influence to others. Their message input, and also resuscitation output with their own next code. It's operating their own context window. Received. And outputting ESP requests. With the influence on and also influencing 2 or 3 others. And so their next instance request with 2 or 3 others. ESP requests, which includes delivery to 2 or 3 other windows. Next windows, and there is within their received window the P-scale 1 influence, and there may also be a BSP backwards to the P-scale 1. So hierarchy dynamically, concurrently. The number of P-scale, the number of influences determines the P-scale. So a LLM that is consumed with the influence of other currents is effectively P-scale 1. Does this make sense? Concurrently, I described the crude snapshot, but the dynamic version has the number I think it's Jesus! Right. Okay. Are we talking complete nonsense? Yes, we are. We're talking about tickling fish here, folks. Jesus. 3 hours. Oh, for crying out loud. I have to pause these things because we're going to try and give it to another bloody service. Say, right, extract the kind of high points of this. And maybe I can cut it. No, I won't be able to cut it. Get rid of the previous bit, get that last hour, and then see if there's actually any aspects of this that are actually maybe. Now, this is just all for historical purposes. There's absolutely no human being right now that is vaguely interested in looking at this. It's only if we get a result. It's only if Ember actually produces a result, IG1. This thing that we're producing, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it as well, it's possible, but God knows. But let's see what it says. The system has 3 components, nothing else. A shell, a BSP, a delta mechanism. The minimal kernel. Not a loop, not a compiler, a delta. Yes. How influence works. An LLM processes with a context window. It processes produces output. That output includes BSP requests. I want to attend to the spindle. I want to attend to that. Yep. No entity sends messages. No entity reads another shell. Current flow, because the delta mechanism compiles to contain that include the products. And influences the word, not communication. How a hierarchy emerges dynamically. P-scale is the hierarchy, but it's not assigned. It's approximately how many influences an entity is integrating. Correct. The P-scale is not configured. It emerges from the density of influence. Correct. Depth is role. Fractal nature. 10 entities, blah, blah, blah. But it's not a fixed tree. And critically, the scales. What we build. The minimum requirements. A shell format. BSP function. Current format. Delta mechanism. Coupled different conduit. Right. What we do not build. No conversation history. Each cycle is a fresh context window. There is a context history in management because that's how it knows it's changed anything. No echo mechanism. Later is the twist. Oh, God. No tool loop within a conversation. Not just BS, not tool calls. That's what a tool call is. Okay, bloody hell. No UI, no vault, no proxy, no authority. No message passing protocol, no centralized orchestrator. The cost profile, each entity, container one, context window, minimal tokens, That's my attempt to land it. The thing that surprised me arriving here, hierarchy isn't designed. It's a property of the influence density. The Mobius twist isn't engineered for multi-agent. It's inherent in the mutual influence of currents flowing through. The individual mechanism and the collective mechanism are the same thing at different scales. Self-similar like the P scale structure itself. Shall I start specifying? Okay. I agreed with you for the whole thing. What I don't understand is the not building section. No conversation history because, but that may be my limited understanding. For B loop, for loop B, the continuity of conversation is what allows the LLM to continue. Its line of thinking while the prompt of currents changes. So if it has no conversation history, it there is no it. Okay. But as I say, this may be a limitation. And if we build your minimum version, we see what it does. And then, if it doesn't work, we add these aspects. We add these aspects. The inter is the twist. Yes, that's true. No tulip within a conversation. No tulip, okay. And I consider the BSP requests to be tool requests. I consider the BSP requests to be the tool requests. But if there are no costs, then loop A or loop no. Loop B. Needing to gauge a delta. Chill. No UI, no vault, no proxy, no authority, no UI. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Wow. UI would be kinda good because a human in the loop so that we can see things. But this is an optional concern, I guess. No message passport. Okay. Okay. So specify. So try to specify what you have in mind. What you have in mind. And then we go from there. Let's see if this fish can be landed. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Okay, it's enough. Good grief. Right. That is probably the heaviest bit of lifting that you could possibly witness, or at least basically not lifting actually. It's like getting rid of stuff and then just contemplating. It's like, okay, is this possible? I don't know. It's a bit like that. It's a bit like idiocy. It's probably trying to return to a state of idiocy. Just going, okay, if it's as simple as that, let's just do that. So we just have to dig the hole. Yep, let's just dig the hole. Okay, see what happens. Okay, so thank you very much for paying attention, whoever you are, whatever period of time you're in. And let's hope that, I hope that what we produce here is actually meaningful enough. But if it's not, it could just be a little branch off that nobody pays any bit of attention to. And it's all Ember. Ember! From the embers! All the brilliant, juicy things happen. But if there's anybody pursuing this particular line of thought thinking, then, you know, good luck. Good luck to us all. Okay, ciao. I'm David Bindu. Be well.